for anything that wasn't related to what we needed to talk about.
I hope not. Was that your dog that just barked?
No. Oh God, now you're scaring me because I got some weird phone calls last night. It was like it was a number from California, and it was like, go to Donna.com for my remunerations or some shit. And I looked up the word remuneration. It was like payment for something. And I'm like, this is actually kind of creepy to get a voicemail like that after seeing Scream.
That's weird.
Yeah. All right. I think I'm good.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
And welcome to a very special episode of Why Are You Still Here?
Yes.
You asked for it. No, you didn't.
You got it.
No, nobody asked for it.
Well, you're going to get
Except
it
us.
anyway.
Yeah,
So
you're gonna get
it is going to be our spoiler portion of the Scream review. It says it in the thumbnail, it says it in the title, and we just said it here. So you can't say no one warned you.
It says it on our faces.
Well, this is what we really wanted to talk about yesterday because we had to refrain for time constraints to not talk about it. But we didn't.
Yeah.
It was funny. So we're gonna spend a lot of time talking about what we truly thought of the movie because you can't really talk about it without having some spoilers.
Yeah.
So the way I was thinking of jumping right into it was just going to be my very first point that I have on my list here, and I have a few. So what better place to start than at the beginning?
One more thing. I do have a note that even precedes the movie, and that is how cool is the poster to this movie? I didn't really pay attention to it fully until I was looking at the thumbnail. And it has the really funny tagline of "the killer is on this poster," which is true. It's true. We'll get to that at the very end. Or killers. You know how long I've been wanting to say that? I was holding back. I couldn't say killers.
Exactly.
I had to say the whodunit aspect of the movie. Anything is potentially a spoiler. So yes, continue on with your first point there.
So I want to start immediately with the introduction. How good of an intro was that? I haven't enjoyed because the Scream movies are known for their openings, and none of them are particularly bad, really. I think they're interesting. Now, I said yeah. Particularly, so there's some better than others, but this one,
they're all good.
Really, really harkens back to the original, I would say. They also managed to find a good middle ground. It felt 90s as hell while being super modern. I think maybe it had to do with the landline. Rich people still seem to have landlines in their homes. That was a nice big house, but you had the landline, but then you had the cell phone aspect bouncing off each other. You had the smart home, which they didn't really utilize as much as I thought they would in this movie, which I thought was kind of a lost aspect. I thought they could have done a little bit more with that, but
I would have gotten sick of it personally. I'm happy they didn't,
because they only did it like once or twice.
Just once, just an opening scene.
But it was good to establish.
You can assume that they were doing it more, though. Just that might have been Ghostface's primary way of breaking into people's houses. So,
but it was good because you also established that 90s old school feel with the modern day and what's going to be taking place. And really, really did remind me of Scream 1. So it put me right in that good mood. Love the intro.
I have to say that this was unique. This opening was unique for two specific reasons. Three, if we talk about the way that Ghostface was talking at first, which he was like so casual and like, oh, I met your mother at a meeting, like it was like an NA meeting or an AA meeting. It was so weird, but she gets the answers to the questions right. This is the first time we've seen somebody, as far as I know, and I know it pretty well.
I'm sure you know.
Get everything right. She got everything right, and then Ghostface had to really cheat and just go, well, you weren't completely correct. And you might think, oh, well, what about the first Scream, right? With Casey Becker, and he cheated with that. He did not cheat with that. And that was not a trick question. That question has never felt like a trick question to me. He simply says, who's the killer in Friday the 13th? Of course, you know that that's Mrs. Voorhees.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a horror movie fan, which she supposedly is. I'm not saying she deserved to die or anything. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, like that's a trick. And then she goes as far as to say, I actually put this in my notes. She goes, no, it's Jason. It's Jason. I've seen that movie 20 goddamn times. One movie. One movie have you seen? Because she acts like it's just one. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. That part has always confused me. I love it, but it's always confused me. So
is there anything else about the intro of the movie for this one?
Yes, she lives.
Yeah,
she actually lives. This is the first time that anybody's ever lived through an opening as well.
Which also kind of sets up the later framework for the movie where, what do they keep calling it? The requel. Yeah, where that's it, where they just take the rules and start to bend it. And that's actually pretty prevalent from the beginning of the movie too. So there was another thing for the beginning of the movie that ties in with the supporting cast when they're introduced at the beginning. So I think we're gonna kind of talk about them all at once, plus this other part that has to do with the killer. Like I said in the spoiler-free version, the supporting cast for this one, like I gave a shit about all of them, and I haven't cared about a supporting cast like this in a long time now. So the main trio, Nev Campbell, David Arquette, and Courtney Cox do take the backseat in this one. They do take some chances with Dewey. We'll talk about that soon.
David Arquette does not take a backseat though. He's the only one of the trio that doesn't.
Okay.
He has a lot of screen time actually.
And he's better in this one than he was in the last two movies. I mean, for sure. He was definitely a standout.
So sort of trying to keep it as an order of the events as possible. I have to mention that Vince's death, right? So this is a character that if you've been following this movie at all, you weren't expecting him to die this early. I mean, people thought that this might have been Billy Loomis's brother or long lost son or something like that. And, it turns out he's Vince Schneider and he dies like that. He has 3 scenes in the movie and he only talks really in one of them. And it was a really, really big surprise, but it was really cool because they set it up like he's just going to get his throat slashed and it's just going to be a classic throat slash. But the way that they did it was just like, like it was so quick and so brutal. And they do something in that scene, which is play the famous red right hand. And that was so cool. So cool. We haven't seen that since Scream 3. And that is a song that is absolutely synonymous with this franchise. So, God, I loved it.
Yeah, I heard it mentioned online when I was watching some reviews last night and today.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. So cool.
Is a huge thing. Yeah. Scream 4 didn't do it, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, so speaking of that and just the gratuity of some of these deaths, is this the goriest Scream movie? I would have to say after watching all of them.
I think so.
It was and it was tastefully done too, a majority of the time. Unlike in Halloween Kills with some of its kills, as we talked about before, I think this one did it with some purpose. So it also ties into Ghostface is just fucking literally killer in this movie. He's pretty unapologetic, and he's ruthless in this one. One of the best Ghostfaces by far since the original.
I agree. And he's like,
it makes the character scary again.
Like he has fun with it, and he's just sort of like
fucking loves doing it.
You can tell he does love doing it, and he is a little bit clumsy, like previous Ghostfaces we've seen. And I don't know if but that comes down to Dane Farwell, the original stuntman, not being able to see properly in the mask, and so he would constantly trip over things, and it was not meant to be. but that became a staple of the
Mm-hmm.
character where it kind of makes him look goofy. So he still has those aspects to the character, but he's also like just loving life. And he
Mm-hmm.
has this time around the voice changer like in the chin of the mask, and he turns it on, and it's like, I wish the batteries were working on this thing, because all it does is, it doesn't go
Mm-hmm.
like it does in the movie. It sounds like Texas Chainsaw Massacre when he turns it on. And that was really cool. And the way that he was like screwing with Tara when she was in the wheelchair,
Yes.
like he was talking on the phone and he kept on like sneaking up behind her, and then going back and then coming back closer
So
to her.
that
Like
was
he
one
was
of the
just
other
screwing
points
with her.
with these movies, since they take themselves not very seriously, and the jump scares never truly get me. We saw it together. I don't think there was one point where either of us ended up jumping during this movie.
Mm-mm.
But the scare factor to me comes in like putting yourself in that situation. And yeah, I kind of felt he was a stalker focus in this one.
We mentioned the jump scares and suspense. I guess this would be a good time to throw in the death of Dylan Minette's character, Wes Hicks, where they sort of like they prolong it like over and over and over again, and it felt a little goofy. Like they were super self-aware about it, the fact that it was like a door that he's going to open, and a cupboard he's going to open, and then a fridge he's going to open, and every time he closes it, you always expect obviously Ghostface to be there. And I've seen them do that in movies before where they're trying to like avert expectations, and this is the first time I've seen it where they do it so much so that in the theater, very loud men were chuckling and yelling at the screen. So
It was
they were
so funny
enjoying
because
it, I guess.
for the points that were supposed to get your reaction, they were completely silent. But when they slammed a door, it was the funniest fucking thing they'd ever seen.
Yeah,
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Shout out to you guys.
Like, yeah, for sure. Like things that are supposed to get your reaction. Like what comes to mind is Tara getting her foot broken when she's trying to get away, and Ghostface just slams his foot down on her ankle and breaks it. And I went, ooh, I literally made that noise out loud and clutched myself. And they were silent. It was radio silence.
No, but that pantry door, damn, really got me with that one.
Yeah. So that was funny. And his death was insane. And while it was really great to see the character of Judy Hicks back by played by Marlene, oh man, it'll come to me.
I thought there was a good chance she was the killer in Scream 4, and I thought she could have been in this one. I thought she could have been pissed off about Dewey, and then I thought maybe even Dewey could have been the killer at one small point. I was like, is he going to be washed up in this trailer, upset about what happened in Woodsboro and Gale? But man,
no,
there was
there's no
it didn't last very long. Don't worry, but
she gets killed in broad daylight.
Yes.
There's a lot of firsts in this movie, and that was insane.
Well, the movie does take its chances.
Explain.
Well, I want to talk about a character death I didn't see coming.
Interesting. Well, before we get there though, so that was the closest to a jump scare that got me was Judy Hicks's death. Because he just comes out of nowhere, just from the side of the
right
porch,
out of the bushes
in pure daylight, and continues to murder her viciously out in her front lawn, which was really cool. So yeah, like I said, a lot of firsts in this movie. I'm just going to throw this in right now before we progress, because I don't know where else to fit it. Skeet Ulrich is in this movie.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to come back.
That was insane. That was like, I have no idea how anybody was able to keep their mouths shut about that, because that was just huge. And I don't know who did like the de-aging on him, but it was pretty damn
It looked pretty
good.
damn good. You could tell he was, a little bit older, but I
Yeah.
mean, not
Yeah.
distractedly so.
No,
It did look pretty damn good.
it looked extremely good. When he talked a little bit, you could see like, maybe, because the guy today, still a very handsome man, does not look anything like he did when he was a kid. So they did some really cool stuff there. And I thought it was really funny. I have to mention this, that he shows up behind Tara and goes, well, they're something like this. I've only seen the movie once, but he's like, they're about to find out your family secret. Is it time that you share it with them? Something like that. And it's like, why else would Billy Loomis be there? And I'm like, okay, well, he's her father. And then she walks into the other room and then talks to her sister and is like, I have to tell you that Billy Loomis is her father. And I hear you next to me go, what? And it's like, why else would he just appear behind her? Like, I got it
maybe
right
she's
away.
maybe she's hallucinating. So,
Of course she is, but why?
well, I don't know
Why
to
with
what
him?
degree.
Like, nobody's just gonna walk around and just have like full-on hallucinations, which of course that was not the ghost of Billy Loomis. Yeah, that it was like, well, that was the reason, like,
Oh God, that's
obviously.
funny.
And it's like, what else, what other secret could there be, with him? So I found that really funny. But yeah, so go on. I know what you're gonna talk about.
Okay, so I want to talk about the death of Dewey. So I didn't see this one coming. I truly didn't think, I mean, that they were going to separate this trio. So for backstory, just very, very briefly, I mentioned it in the other video. I'll mention it again. I'd only seen Scream 1 and 2 on cable back in the day. Shocker. And I'd never seen 3 and 4. So I sat down and watched them all back to back within like I think like 2 days. And I didn't really care for Gale or Dewey until the third movie. Then it really solidified how much I cared about them, even though three is not the fan favorite. But third one, I really enjoyed the camaraderie between the two. I love the stupid little proposal at the end. It was so cheesily cute in her own book with the ring. Anyway, so we come to
Yeah.
this movie where they're completely separated. They're I mean, after they had a little bit of problems in Scream 4, but now they're separated. Dewey's in the trailer. He's the washed up old sheriff. I felt bad for him,
Yeah.
see all the liquor bottles around his house. You can see it's taking his toll on him.
This was another first for the series as well. This was really unique because we find out when he meets up with Gale that she did not leave him. Not again. He left her. And that was because he didn't feel comfortable in New York City, I guess, which is kind of weird to me because they seemed pretty strong in Scream 4, like they've been together for years.
Well, it was just a great way to get him back to Woodsboro, I guess.
Yeah, but he was living there in Scream 4, so it was like, why not just keep him there and keep him as a deputy? Not that I'm criticizing it. I mean, the story was, great in the way that it worked out, but I don't know. I was just a little confused about that.
He dies. They kill off one of the main characters, and
No way.
Like I said, I mentioned it to Brandon. I don't know if he had seen it in the theater, but I was just shoving popcorn into my gullet like an animal. When he dies, put the popcorn in the seat next to me, I fold my arms and I just start pouting snapping my feet like a little kid because my personal favorite character is gone, because Dewey ended up becoming my favorite character throughout the franchise, believe it or not. And I was really upset. I like his innocent candor as to how he is. I just love his character, and I was very very sad to. Yeah, I love it. I was just sad to see him go. So I didn't want to bring that up, but
though in this movie, he Just the way that he is, it was very like Laurie Strode-esque from Halloween 2018. He's living out on his own. He's not doing interviews or doesn't want to do interviews. He's prepared. He's sort of waiting almost, it seems, for another Ghostface to show up. And as soon as it does, he sort of like snaps back into action.
Yep.
And he I don't know, he's just cool. Awesome. I have to mention that they brought back the awesome theme from Broken Arrow that we haven't heard, if I'm not mistaken, haven't heard from Scream 2. So he shows up and little trivia, that was not a Marco Beltrami piece of music. He borrowed that from oh man, I can't think of the composer at the moment, but the composer of Broken Arrow, and he just liked it so much that he decided to use it as Dewey's theme. So you go watch the movie Broken Arrow, they play that song all the time throughout the entire movie. So it was just nice that the directors, I assume they were behind the decision, decided to bring that back into it. But yeah, Dewey is just such a badass with the reloading of that revolver and just like like the bullets dropping to the ground. You see that in the trailer. And he's going
so for his
back.
scene, I'm sorry. You can.
I was just gonna say he's going back to put a bullet in Ghostface's head.
Well, see, that's okay. So that was literally my next point. So they're shooting Ghostface in the chest, and then I look over to Brandon. I'm like, dude, he's wearing a fucking vest.
Yeah.
And then, of course, and then what happens? Dewey says, well, you got to go back and shoot him in the head. Goes back, fucking dies. I knew we had a vest.
I saw it coming, unfortunately, from a mile away.
Okay.
I knew that at least one of the core trio had to die in this movie. It just didn't make sense logistically for it not to happen.
Last thing about him dying. Shout out to George, who's probably not going to watch this, but I have to give him a shout out. So I mentioned to him that we had saw Scream 5, and then he goes, oh yeah, blah blah blah. He wanted to see it, and then he goes, I think David Arquette's going to die in this movie. I didn't say anything to him, but I'm like, damn, he fucking called it out right away. So shout out to George.
Yeah. People, I don't know how big of a fan he is of the series, but people have been anticipating this for a while. It's something that was supposed to happen in Scream 4, and they sort of like chickened out on it. So it's a long time coming, and I'm just grateful that he got as much screen time as he did before it happened, because he has the most screen time of all three of them, hands down. So so that was really cool. And here's a little tip for whether or not somebody's going to die in a movie. I've seen it multiple times now in multiple movies, and there is this with Dewey. As soon as somebody gets stabbed or shot and they have a shot of their feet and you see blood dripping down onto the ground, that's it for them. It's over. Like, that's like the universal shot that's shown. That's a tongue twister. Universal shot that's shown when they're going to die, and it always happens. And Ghostface kind of like took that knife, drove it in, and kind of like ripped it upwards and went, "It's an honor," So. Which again is like, oh, Ghostface, I love you, you scamp. You lovable scamp. But don't you kill Dewey. This actually something, since we're talking about the trio at the moment, at least in passing, I have to mention something else I haven't seen in any other reviews. I'm just throwing out the knowledge bombs here, basically. I mentioned the fact that nobody's bringing up Roger L. Jackson in the last video. I mentioned that, and nobody's mentioning Sydney's husband, Mark. Like, I could not have been the only one that
Oh,
thought
the
of
Kincaid
Mark
reference
Kincaid.
that you mentioned.
There's no way that I'm the only one that caught that. And I have a strong feeling that that's exactly what they were going for, because we don't know what Sydney's love life is like in Scream 4. She leaves from wherever her house is, which we don't even see, and she comes back to Woodsboro on a book tour, basically, right? So we don't even know what's going on there. But the last time we saw her with somebody, she was with Mark Kincaid at the end of Scream 3. And it just makes sense that they would, have kids now and be living their life. It's just, that was a very interesting name to choose, unless it was just like an Easter egg or something.
Right.
But Patrick Dempsey would never come back for this. Apparently he's nobody wants to work with him. He is so hard to work with, and he's just such an asshole, apparently. So they were never going to get him back. But
I said a lot of what I want to say for the beginning, more toward the middle. I think we can start putting it more toward the end of the movie now.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
That way, I do want people to still see the movie as much as I want them to hear our thoughts on it.
Well, I hope that, please do not watch this video unless you have already seen the movie.
Sadly, I know there's people who do, so I still want people.
Well, you're not welcome here. Good day.
Yeah, why are you still here?
I said good day.
I said good day, sir.
I said good day, sir. His hair is like flailing about. It's real scary. I have nightmares about that still to this day.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. So were you headed somewhere with the ending? Where like did you have like something specific in mind? Do you want to talk about Stu Macher's house?
So yeah, let's talk about Stu Macher's house. Let's talk about the party that they're having at Stu Macher's house, and how we hear from my two favorite supporting actors in this one are the twins, like I mentioned in the other one. Where was I going with that? It was the thing she said about it. Her whole monologue about the requels and how they have to do things differently. And then here they are at the Stu Macher house. How great.
I love how you say his full name as if it's one word. The Stu Macher house. It's Stu Macher. It's Stuart Stu Macher. Yeah, Stu Macher. Yeah, it's
go on. I'm sorry.
I cut this out of the non-spoiler because again I was like it makes more sense to talk about that in this. But that seeing the return of that house was awesome, and it's even more amazing and mind-blowing that wasn't even really the house. The real house probably could have been used for filming. They do Airbnb there, but it's in a different state. They shot this in North Carolina, I believe. That is in like Santa Rosa or something like that, California. So it would be a bit of a hike, but instead they chose to just recreate it 1-for-1 scale in a studio, which is pretty amazing because it's pretty spot on. Surprisingly so. So I was in love with that. This is a detail I've known for a while now. They weren't really like keeping this one, too secretive at all. I mean, they were sharing photos of this, right from filming. Okay. They were doing like Instagram posts and stuff like that of pictures of the cast standing in front of the house or inside the house or, you name it. So that was never a secret. So it's kind of funny that in the movie they act like it's a secret. Like we're there in the movie, like we're in the house for already like 30 minutes, and then a phone
Isn't
call
like
takes
they show
place.
And don't they show something on the mantelpiece with the name?
No. Sydney's talking to Sam on the phone and goes, "Sam, you're in the house, Stu Macher's house," and she goes. And then all of a sudden the camera goes and then goes out the front door. Like we didn't know. that was really funny. So yeah, it's actually that really quick tangent, but it's not a tangent. It actually just shows the directors and how much they respected Wes Craven's work. They were all about the Dutch tilts or Dutch angles with the camera, which is a very Wes Craven thing to do. He shoved it in the first movie a whole lot, did it a little bit in the other movies, but in this movie, they brought it back. And I thought that was so cool, the Dutch angles. They did a few times in the movie, so I thought that was really really fun Easter egg.
Yep,
I
nice
love these
callbacks without
guys.
being obnoxious.
Exactly. And that was really cool. And we did forget to mention, though, since we skipped over really the twins, since you said, you know, they're like some of your favorite characters. These are the niece and nephew of Randy. Randy Meeks. Again, something I cut right out of the non-spoiler review, because I was like, the last thing I need is somebody saying that's a spoiler, even though it's not. And I didn't need any extra, you know,
any back talk,
backlash in my life or anything like that. No drama free.
Way.
Yeah. Real left-handed, if I do say so myself. But I was headed somewhere with the twins. There's a whole, because you said mantelpiece earlier, there's a whole painting of Randy that's going like up on his sister's mantelpiece and all these other pictures and stuff too. So that was really cool to see. You know that Jamie Kennedy had to sign off, obviously, on his image being used in this movie. So that's really funny. And Jamie Kennedy is a cool guy, you know. He has a YouTube channel. Go check him out.
Yeah.
And he responds to my comments from time to time. So
it's not his fault he was in Son of the Mask, you know. We would have been in the movie had we been asked.
No, he actually has a video series, if anybody is interested, about, where he talks about how that all happened. And he was already too deep to back out by the point that he noticed that this movie was a shit show. Because he was promised that it was going to be like a true sequel to The Mask. It was going to make his career just like The Mask made Jim Carrey's career. And he was like, the ideas were good at first.
Yeah, he was just sold on a bed of lies.
Studio interference and all this kind of stuff. So I totally get it. It's like a 3-part series he did. And it's really interesting. So you should go check it out. But once you check it out, come back here.
Yeah, and then let us know.
Okay, welcome back. Okay.
All right, so back to Scream.
Indeed. So and this is a good moment to bring this up, I suppose. I found this out doing research after our recording yesterday. So I mentioned like, the fellow that is in the Ghostface costume for this movie. I'll find out who that is. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen. Well, I ended up having to cut that out because it's not just one fellow. It's 2 fellows. And what's really cool about this is they actually paid attention. It's not like a Scream 4 where Emma Roberts, that's like 5'2", gets into the costume and all of a sudden she's 6'1".
You know, I always thought about that.
It's weird. Yeah. Even at the end of the movie when she's in full costume and they have these high heels on her that are like this tall, that are like a foot tall, and you see she's like hobbling around when she goes to stab Sydney. She still isn't even near tall enough to be pulling off what she's trying to pull off there. So, and last time I checked, Ghostface didn't wear high heels when he ran around. So, but I don't know about his personal life. But there is 2.
Him and Leatherface have been hanging out.
Exactly. Exactly. So John Gilbert and Paul Burke are the 2 Ghostface performers in this movie. And one is about 6 foot tall, 6'1", and the other one is 5'10". Okay. And that's what's kind of interesting about it. So the One that is taller is Ghostface for 90% of the movie. And the other one that is 5'10" is only in the third act of the movie. And obviously the reason for that is you have Richie, who's 6 foot tall,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have Amber, who is probably 5'10". So I was like, come on, that is awesome. And I gotta be honest, I'm an eagle-eyed fan.
Yeah.
I did not notice a difference in height between the two ghost faces. I didn't even notice that they were different performers. So that's so cool to me. That is so cool to have that attention to detail like that. You know, like they want it to be realistic. Like obviously the bulk of the movie is supposed to be Richie doing the killings.
Mm-hmm.
And then Amber takes over in the third act a lot. So I think it's really, really cool because usually it was just Dane Farwell in the costume. And I love Dane Farwell, but people are rarely his height, you know, especially once they get exposed as the killer. So that was really cool to me. So I had to mention that. That brings me to one of my final points is she was a little bit too insane, in my opinion. Because she went from being a character that was purely in the background to being a character that is just so over the top crazy in your face. And it was just kind of like, it was a little bit too much, in my opinion. I have like two critiques of this movie, both having to do with her. And I don't know, she was just a little bit too like wild and wacky. Kind of reminded me of like Emma Roberts in Scream 4, you know, where she was like hurting herself and trying to
Which I still loved.
It's definitely,
It's a cool twist. It's a cool ass, you know, cool little
yeah. I wish that
curveball.
she yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was a surprise for sure. It was a surprise. But this was similar to that. And I think that she just kind of got a little bit annoying with her craziness and her zaniness.
I can see that for sure.
And the nail in the coffin for her character for me was the one thing in the movie that you actually called stupid. I don't know if you remember, but it was her being dead for like 20 minutes. And then she gets up, a mere corpse of a woman, and runs at the screen when they're
yeah,
they're like, oh, well, killers always come back for one last scare. And then they go and, you know, I believe they shot Richie, like, which, by the way, you gotta watch out for Sam because she's got some issues going on.
Yeah.
It's like, you forgot one thing. Don't fuck with the daughter of a serial killer. You know, that whole kind of like, she went crazy with it. It was like, all right, cool. But yeah, so it's like, okay, fine, he doesn't do a jump scare back, but she does from the kitchen where she's like,
reminded
me
of
like
chapter 2 with the naked old lady chasing the camera.
Yes,
that's exactly. And then is that when I looked over and I said, that is so fucking stupid.
Yeah. And again, the same group of guys that were
just
sitting in front of us,
the wild pack of hyenas, they thought it was great.
They loved it, absolutely loved it for some reason. But
you know, though, they could have been worse. They could have been worse moviegoers. They only had a few times where I wanted to throw my popcorn at them.
They could have been worse. They could have been that girl that was sitting behind us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did you hear her the entire movie? She was giving us live commentary the entire movie. It was like, what the hell? At first I thought it was just a little kid talking, and then I turn around and look, and it was like a teenager.
I know, I saw your death
sitting
player
back there. This is the perfect way to end this off. There is, I mean, I'm surprised you didn't bring this up. There is a really good dig at Ryan Johnson in this movie. So the entire movie, they keep talking about how there's this new Stab 8 and this movie is trash and it's the worst one in the series. They keep saying that throughout the movie, and like, this one doesn't have anything to do with the others. And then one of the characters goes, yeah, it was the guy that directed Knives Out that directed that one. I'm like, is it Ryan Johnson? And then they show a scene from the movie where Ghostface is wearing a chrome mask. He's wearing a robe that has the sleeves ripped off of it, and he's wielding nunchucks and going, wow, 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 wow. And then they show him with a big giant flamethrower killing people with it. And I'm like, yeah, that's about right. That's probably what Ryan Johnson would do with a Scream movie.
That's funny.
So that was like such a slap in the face to Ryan Johnson. So the writers of this movie, the directors, it's so good. That was like my heartiest chuckle of the whole
His
movie.
heartiest chuckle.
That and Sydney like talking on the phone to Ghostface and being like, I'm bored, and just hanging up the phone.
That was
so
funny.
cool too. So
that's a nice series first.
Yeah. Well, she's done similar things like that before, but that was the first time where it was exactly like that. But yeah, so in conclusion, do you still have the same rating as yesterday? Like, did you think about it a little bit more and reflect upon it a little bit more?
I'm sitting at about a solid 8 for this one.
8? Okay, interesting. Okay,
maybe 8.5.
Oh God. You trick me with that every time. You trick me with it yesterday too, because I always want to go 8.5 with it, but I don't want to have the same score as you necessarily.
Which is fine if we do, but you know
yeah.
what? Fine. Yeah, we're gonna go 8.5 because I can't give it like that 9 to that like that A territory. But which is just gonna be a slap in the face when we do our ranking video anyway. So what the fuck does it even matter? We're gonna give it an 8.5. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what I'm going with as well.
Cool.
Either that or 9. It might be a 9 for me. I don't know.
We'll give him a 9.
I'll know for sure after tomorrow once I see it.
And then he'll let us know on Tuesday. And then you guys will know on Friday.
Correct.
We're going Scream centric this week, baby.
We are, and we'll see if that does anything for us.
But I do, as our closing statement, we like to sign off and leave you with a great night here, morning, afternoon, whatever it is going to be. Your lazy Saturdays, catching up on the podcast. I do want to ask you, what's your favorite scary movie? Come on. Everyone has a favorite.
That was pretty good. Doing like a like Ghostface from the first movie talking to Casey before he gets angry, like I don't know, more of a normal voice. It hasn't progressed to the point of getting really raspy and angry. And nobody ever goes for that one. So
I like that one because thank you.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
It's so quietly scary. There's something behind it. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching the spoiler-filled portion of the video.
Yeah, I hope we did you proud. I swear, I feel like we forgot half of the things that we were supposed to talk about. And
it's great because we had a list too.
Thanks for joining us.
We do have to do our official sign-off. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the movie. Bye, guys.